Hi, Rod here. Now, in this clip, I just want to take some time to discuss how we can set up our sessions for greater success. And what we'll be looking at in order to do so is how we establish clear markers and targets from the very beginning of our coaching. Now, coaches can have all sorts of ways they engage with clients. But in my experience, if we haven't clearly agreed upon what we're aiming at and established what will be different with the client and also what will be developed, then how do we know if we're having any real success at all? And equally, what are we measuring their success against? So if we don't do so and just launch ourselves out there and start coaching, we're potentially just swinging away in the dark a little and hoping we're going to connect with something important. Now, this can mean we end up having maybe a lot of interesting conversations and, creating actions and nonetheless, but possibly not heading in a single purposeful direction over the time we work together. So how can we set the engagement up for success? Well, I believe we need to allow for time to do so before we actually launch into the coaching ourselves. And so to explore that, let's start right at the beginning of how we might do that. So firstly, as you know, the client reaches out to us saying they'd like to explore some coaching. We're all familiar with this, right? So now what? Well, naturally, we of course respond and set up a meeting. And it's what this looks like that is important to the setup for success, at least for me. Now, whether you charge for this first call with your client or not is up to you. I don't, but I also don't coach in this session, and I let the client know that we're just going to spend some time together, getting to know each other, and also for me to understand what they're looking for, to see if what they're looking for is actually coachable, and also to help clarify what working with me is going to be like. I also use this session to get a really good picture of this person, who they are, what's happening in their world, what level of development they're at, what their practices are. I also use this session to educate them about what coaching is, about embodiment and presence, also about ethics and how I abide by them, and all these other areas that we talk to you guys about. And we also, in this session, do a little practicing. So we engage with areas such as presence, for example, and I set that up. I give them an experience of it for them, and I also use this session to ask them if there's anything they want to know about me. So this session isn't coaching as such, so all of this area is fine. However, I do bring coaching skills into the kind of questioning I do with them. And I'm also probing to see how areas such as their somatic awareness might be. So following this session, I usually ask them to take at least 24 hours before they decide if they want to work with me and get back. I just find this a really great move. It seems very ethical to me. So then if they do, and they agree to work with me, then at that point I send them my forms, including the goals form, and of course also things such as the coaching contract. So then when we go into the first session, we take about the first maybe 15 to 20 minutes to go over all the pieces that we brought together and really clarify the goal we're aiming for over the whole engagement. And also for the outcomes. So using all of this incredible info that's been gathered from both our first call and also from the goals form. So we look at what will be different, what will they be better at, and so forth. What do they need to develop? Now, the latter of these, so we have the topic, the target, and then these outcomes, what's going to be different. And this latter gives us those really clear markers for success. Now, my usual initial engagement period, or my request to my clients, is that we work together for a period of 6 months. So our aim is that these outcomes will manifest over this period, and also that we check in on them as we proceed. So once we're clear on these, and we get really clear, I like my clients to become really clear on the specific wording of these, so that there's nothing extraneous in either the goal or the outcomes. And then we put them into a Google Doc, which is also a development plan. You guys have this accessible to you. And then we can both refer to these from that point on. But what I say to my clients is that I won't alter it, and I'll leave it up to them if they wish to do so. But it gives me something to refer to as I go into each session to see, this is what we're aiming for. This is the direction. This is what they're hoping to get out of it. This is what they're hoping to develop. So now that we have the target and the markers, we'll usually meet halfway through the engagement, so at around about the 3-month period. And at that point, we review how we're doing. We also see if we need to make any adjustments in what's happening or in the development plan. And also, I ask the client to give me feedback on how the coaching is going for them, and also ask them if they need me to adjust anything to serve them better. Do they need something more of my coaching? Equally, as we're working developmentally, it's highly likely the targets and the outcomes will adjust as the client grows. And so it's really important we are able to repurpose what's happening in order that it's fit for purpose for their goals. So then finally, at the end of 6 months, we review, and this is in what we call a completion call. And that's an opportunity to review how we did, what's worked, what's grown, what's developed. And we also get to see all of the objectives if we hit them. And so then they can either choose to move on, and I might ask them things like, so how are you going to carry this forward? So a kind of accountability question for them. Or we may even decide to recontract and keep working together, and that quite often happens as well. Either way, what we're doing is we're aiming for this whole process with real clarity on their version of success, and that we've managed to keep on target. We've ensured that. They feel more satisfied. And as a coach, so do I. Good luck.